CC Orchestra show. My name is Miss Sarah, and hopefully you have already watched the first part of our show for this week. We are talking about Ludwig van Beethoven, and specifically we are taking a look at his Fifth Symphony today. Now, I hope that you all have had a chance to listen to the radio show I recommended. It's called Classics for Kids. You can go to classicsforkids.com and then you choose the show that is called Beethoven's Symphonies. If you haven't yet done that, please pause and go and do that right now. Also, I wanted to mention another resource. The Dallas Symphony Orchestra has a wonderful educational kids website where your child can go and learn all sorts of cool things and do some interactive activities. So I want to highlight that now. It is mydso.com, and they also have a big packet for Beethoven. I think it's called Beethoven 250. So anyway, check that out. Now we are on to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, which could be the most famous symphony written in all time. I played the opening for it. You've all heard it before. Da 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 da, da 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 da. It's simply an amazing piece of music. Now, Beethoven's Symphony Number 5 does follow some of the rules of the classical period. And today, before we listen to it, I want to talk about sonata form. Now, sonata form was kind of the main form that was used during the classical period of music. You may be wondering what this strange creature I have drawn right here. This is to help you remember what is sonata form. Sonata form has three main parts. The first part is called the exposition, and I wrote this out a little bigger so you can see it better. The exposition is the beginning. It is the introduction. It is where the theme is stated, and it is played, and it is like the introduction of a book. The characters are announced. The setting is described. It sets the foundation for the whole piece of music. Now, obviously, there aren't characters in a symphony, but comparing it to a book can help us understand these parts of sonata form. So the first part, and I drew an insect because I think most of us know that an insect has three main parts, right? The head, the thorax, and the abdomen. So I thought perhaps this would help us to remember. So our head is the exposition. Our middle is called the development, and then our end is called the recapitulation. Now, these are kind of mouthful sorts of words, so could you please say them after me? Here we go. Exposition, exposition. Development, development. Recapitulation, recapitulation. I think that is the hardest one to say, so let's try it again. Recapitulation. Together now, recapitulation. Okay, so we've talked about the exposition as where the theme, which is ba-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, is stated. And it sets the stage for the whole piece. The middle part of the music is called the development. And in the development, the composer will take that theme and will start trying it out in lots of different ways. He will go into different keys of music, so starting on different notes. It may go between being major and minor, and it can be used with all sorts of different instruments and all sorts of different ways. It's kind of like the middle of a book, where things get exciting and there's suspense and there's action and you don't know what's going to happen and you don't know how the book is going to be resolved. So that is the development part in sonata form. Now the third part of sonata form is when all of a sudden you realize, hey, I've heard that already. And the composer goes back just like at the beginning of the exposition. Okay, so all of a sudden you will hear something that sounds familiar, and that is your clue that probably the development has ended, and it's time for the recapitulation, where the composer kind of restates the theme and the original ideas that were also in the exposition. Now, you'll notice that our insect has a weird looking tail. Maybe that could be a stinger. And in that tail is a word that is called coda. Now, a coda is kind of the very end of a piece. Not every single piece has a coda, but Beethoven's Fifth Symphony has a coda. And in the coda, basically, you're going to hear everything starting to get really super intense. And I want you to imagine like you are going to a fireworks show. And you know, like at a fireworks show, they'll shoot up a firework here, there, and everyone says, "Ooh, ah, how beautiful." But then, at the end, they save like half their fireworks for the grand finale. And then it goes boom, 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 ta-da! That is what a coda is in music, okay? So the composer in the coda kind of unleashes all his stops and makes the music faster, more exciting, and there's just a lot more going on. And eventually, it ends with a big hurrah. And that is exactly what Beethoven did in his Fifth Symphony. Now, before you listen to it, I want to draw your attention to the theme, which is one of the most simple themes in all of classical music, yet it is one of the most famous ones. Now, here we have it. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Now, as you heard in the Classics for Kids show, there were some different opinions on what may have inspired Beethoven to write that particular theme. Research doesn't really show us exactly what it was, but you can consider whether you think it was fate knocking at a door, or if it was simply a type of bird that sounded like doo-doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo. We won't ever know for sure. Now, the next thing that I want you to do is I want you to listen to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, the entire first movement. I believe it lasts about 7 minutes. And what I want you to listen the most for, I want you to identify these parts of the symphony: the exposition, the development, the recapitulation, and the coda. And parents, if you have the book that we often use in CC, it's called Classical Music for Dummies. There is a listening guide, and you can listen to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony using those links, and you can read the listening guide as you go through the symphony. If you don't have that, don't fear. Just listen to it. Listen for the different sounds of the different instruments. Listen to the different ways the theme is explored. Da 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 da, da 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 da. See if you can keep track of how many times that theme is used. It would be a lot, if anybody is up for that challenge. And see if you can, I just really want you to know which part of the piece are we in, okay? So happy listening. Listen to as much of Beethoven as you can this week. And I will see you again next week when it is time for a new composer. Thank you.